Hey folks, Frank the Pest Geek here. Sorry, I'm still a little under the weather. Haven't been able to shake this cold. It was almost over, and then we were outside for Thanksgiving, and it was kind of cool. And I guess the cold came back. But I work for a butthole that doesn't let me take any days off. So I've been working with a bad knee, pinched nerve in my neck. Now the cold for the last 4 weeks, and my butthole boss doesn't let me take any time off. Oh, wait, I am the boss. Yeah, welcome to running your own business. And the idea that you can just take off anytime you want because you work for yourself. It's a great illusion if you read the 4-Hour Work Week. I don't know what to do with 4 hours, how I would work 4 hours a week, much less 4 hours a day. And getting everything that we have to get done. When the employee doesn't show up, the employee quits, the employee gets sick because he's an employee. He can take, time off because he's feeling under the weather today, or he drank too much on Sunday and partied too hard on the weekend. He doesn't feel like coming to work on Monday. You got to pick up the slack and work for him. When you're the owner, you don't get time off because your neck needs to heal or your knee needs to heal, or you got a cold and you need to just heal from it. If you get a divorce, you don't get any time off to deal with it. You don't get any time off when your mom dies to mourn. You got to get right back to work and deal with everything. This is what it's like to really own a business. And a lot of the stuff out there that's about owning a business and how glorious it is. Yes, it is. It's wonderful. I would never go back to being an employee. I worked many more hours as an owner. Now, I pretty much worked a lot of hours when I was an employee. I don't remember ever working less than 50 hours a week since I started working for somebody at age 21. Or 20. It must have been 20 when I really started working for somebody else. Before that, I was working odd jobs for myself and did things for myself. I never wanted to work for anybody, but I did something really stupid at a very young age. I got married, and wife expected a steady paycheck every week, and I should have just stayed single and done what I wanted to do, and could have started up, work wherever I wanted, travel wherever I wanted. So my advice to young people is do not get married young. Get married when you're older, and if you can wait. Millennials are doing very good at that. They actually learn from our mistakes. They're getting their careers, they're getting their life in order. Then they'll worry about getting married and having children and all that kind of good stuff. I would advise my kids to do the same. Don't get married young. Get your life. Figure out who you are as a person first. Don't try to find your identity in somebody else. Don't let anybody try to find their identity in you because they're lacking something in their life that they haven't figured out yet. Figure it out. Figure out your life. Figure out who you are as a man, as a woman. What do you have to offer somebody else instead of what I need from somebody else because to fill a void in your life. Honestly, I didn't have much in need. I just been the kind of person that's stable, steady, reliable, trustworthy, gets things done kind of guy, and I attract people who around me who feel they need something from me, including in the business world. This is why I do a lot of these videos, because I can provide that without providing my personal time. There's no way I could give everybody the attention they wanted. I often go to dinner with friends or whatever, and some couple is there or whatever, or somebody else is there. It's like, oh, you own a business. Oh my God, how wonderful. I've thought about, starting a business. Where would I start looking to start a business? You know, I want to quote Alice in Wonderland, the Cheshire Cat. If you don't know where you're going, any road is going to take you there. The problem is most people don't have a direction. This is the third D I want to talk about, direction of where they want to go in their life. This idea that your parents installed in some of you that, by 18, you should know what you're going to study because you're going to finish high school and you're not going to know what you're going to study. And you need to know what you're going to pick as a career, especially Hispanic parents. I didn't bring you to this country so that you could fail. I brought you here to be a success, and the idea of success is still going to college, getting a degree. And I know more people today in their 20s and 30s with degrees that are totally worthless, but they did it to please their parents. I was kind of one of those kids that I wanted to please my mom, so I started, studying things that I liked, but not necessarily that were going to make a career. I went into computer programming because that was the thing to do back then. If you wanted to make it, you become a programmer. I sucked as a programmer. Worst decision I ever made. I should have just gone to business school. At least I would have had some business fundamentals. Let me tell you something. The thing I learned more about business in business school is, that's ding that just got this chair and it has a ding in it from the factory. Daggone it. I learned business school. I had a great teacher, great professor who was an entrepreneur, has started many businesses, and he was able to coach me a lot on business. But accounting, believe it or not, I took about 2 to 3 courses in accounting, become really good friends with both of the accounting teachers who taught accounting. As a matter of fact, I would fix their computers. They would help me out with accounting. Today, everything I know about accounting and running a business, about money and managing money, which is the most important thing about really running a business, and from those accounting courses, basic accounting courses. I didn't need, I'd done all my bookkeeping ever since I started all my businesses. We've done all our bookkeeping. I've got our bookkeeping so automated that if we spend an hour a month on bookkeeping, it's too much. It's all automated with QuickBooks. People are like, I'm going to start a business. I need to hire a bookkeeper and pay $200 a month when you're not making any money. No, spend $49 a month with QuickBooks. Automate your bank account, automate everything, and it's all there. You're going to be able to do all your receipts. You're not going to have any money coming in. You're going to be broke most of the time. So, what direction am I going to go? Well, if you don't know where you're going, like the Cheshire Cat said, any place is going to take you there. You got to know where you're going. The most common question I get from people that I meet that find out that I own a business is, where can I get ideas to start a business? I said, if you're asking that question when we get together at a meal or something, and that's the most burning question you have, it just tells me that you haven't seriously thought about starting a business, because the question should be, listen, I got this business idea that I want to start. I've done the research. There's a market for it. Here's what I need. What do you think about the next step should be, and how do I go about it? And maybe finding this manufacturer or this or that, because they're stuck with the product development phase or the business development phase of it. But asking what business should I start is like saying, who should I marry? What kind of girl should I marry? Can't tell you that, bro. There's a million blogs out there about 101 ideas to start businesses you can start from home. They're all the same crap. Deciding what you're going to start in a business and having that question tells me you haven't seriously thought about it. You're not even in a place. And my idea would be to look at your inventory of what you've actually done and what you've actually accomplished in a career-wise, business-wise, work-wise. Most of it is going to come from experience. I'm in the pest control business. I think it's probably the greatest business in the world to start as a home-based business, because I've already owned and operated several different home-based businesses and several home service businesses. My other question is, how many business books have you read in the last year? Chances are the answer is zero. Haven't read any business books, which tells me you're not serious about starting a business. Business books I recommended that I recommend everyone to read, I'm going to harp on this until I'm dead, is, or something better comes out, is everybody before starting a business, it shouldn't be about the business idea. You're asking the wrong question. That's not the question to ask. What is it going to be like to really run and operate a business? And what am I in for? The one that crushes every myth is the E-myth. Every entrepreneurial myth, it crushes it. Because a lot of people come into this mindset, the entrepreneurial myth mindset, that this is what business is going to be like because I read this, I saw that. How many business people do you actually know that operate a real business, a home-based business, and where 78% of businesses started are home-based? The problem is there's really no book out there that shows you how to, on a step-by-step, how to start a home-based business, because it's too vast. Anywhere from tech, startup, to accounting, to products, to home service businesses, they're different dynamics. And all the business books that are out there that tell you about business startup come from the mind frame of a large operation, of a large business startup. Like, you're going to need $250,000 to start because you're developing this app. In the tech space, very few deal with real home service businesses like mine, like pest control. So the idea of the business, it should be the idea of business, not the idea of a specific business or a niche. Most of that is going to come from your expertise in work. I ask people, what do you do? Well, I'm an insurance salesperson. I'm an admin, for this. I'm a receptionist. I have, pretty much low-level jobs. And I said, well, you have experience in that business. Why don't you start that up? And I don't really like it, I don't really know. It's too complicated, They think like businesses are going to be simple. So my read the E-Myth, because it's going to help you. The second book after you read E-Myth and you decide, oh, I get it, this is what I need to do, is Profit First. Because you have to understand profitability, and you got to understand that you got to make money, that a business isn't a hobby. It has to produce money, and it has to produce profit for you to operate, to grow. And the other one is Michalowicz, which also wrote Profit First, which is Clockwork. I like Clockwork better than but I think you should read both or listen to them, than Scaling Up. I think Scaling Up is a little bit more tactical, but it's in the same mind frame as Clockwork by Michalowicz. I believe it's Mike Michalowicz. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. But you should be able to find it. He's written a bunch of books, but I think those two are Clockwork is a classic because it goes together with E-Myth. I started working very young. Work ethic was something that was just built inside of me. It's in my DNA. Some people need to learn work ethic. I needed to learn certain things along the way that added to my work ethic, but I was stocking grocery store shelves by the time I was 10. I was going across the street from that grocery store because literally my house was here, and there was a little apartment complex with like 4 units, and then there was another one here, and literally 50 feet around the other side was the little grocery store. And I would walk there, I could cut through the yard and get to the back of the grocery store. Like, hey, can I do some work around the store? I'll work for soda and chips. I don't care. I just wanted to do something. And the guy taught me how to stock shelves, use a pricing gun and, carry the boxes from the back of the storeroom, where they went in the store. It wasn't a really big store. This was probably 3,000 square feet. It's a little grocery store, corner grocery store. And I learned to stock shelves. And I learned to use a dolly. And I learned how to use a pricing gun and how to use, here's the pricing sheet. And these items are all here, and you just take them, price them according to this pricing sheet. And I did that after school for a couple hours, 2-3 hours, not much. And, I would get soda and chips, and, he didn't pay me. But I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. I was working. I would go across the street and help the guy change tires. I wouldn't get paid. But, I figured out how to make money, too, because I would take all the bottles I collected around the neighborhood for 10 cents. And, back then, $1.50, 75 cents, it was 35 cents for a Coke and 25 cents for a bag of chips. And I would collect 20 bottles. I would make $2. I'd have enough money left over. Go to apartment buildings where the coin laundries were, and people would drop. I'd get a clothes hanger and just pull out $3-4, from underneath in like 5 minutes. We went to the local supermarket, and we needed to go to the movies that night. Movies were like, $1 to $5. And I would, we would sit there and say, can we carry your bags for you? Publix does that today with their employees. We would sit there in the front of the store, can we carry your bags for you? People would give us 50 cents. In an hour and a half, we already had made $5. This is when minimum wage was like $3 an hour. We would make $5 carrying people's bags from, pushing the cart and then loading it up, and they would give us like 50 cents, a quarter, whatever. Some people would give us $1, if they had money. We're talking, early 80s. The hustle was already in me. At 17, I was getting over my cancer and coming out of that, and I decided I'm going to start mowing lawns. Well, I couldn't. I didn't have the strength at 17 to mow lawns. I could mow maybe 1 or 2 lawns a day, and I would make $100, in a couple hours. Think about, I was mowing a yard that was, couple hundred square feet in the back, and I would make $25 in 30 minutes. What's shocking is that the price of lawn and landscaping hasn't gone up in 30 years. I would charge $35 for a yard when I was 17. I am now 51. Today, the average yard is about $65. We're talking 30 years later. The price hasn't gone up. After that, I owned a landscape business. Also, this was about nine years ago. So I've worked in a lot. I mean, I sold commercial printing door to door. It must have been like 16. I became a glass installer at about 17. I was installing tile by the time I was 17, 18. I was doing apartment maintenance, 16, 17. By the time I was 17, 18 years old, I was making custom electrical boxes for signs. I was custom building this in a shop. I already knew how to cut. I knew how to use a saw. I knew how to do electrical work by that time. I was wiring these, and then I was going out and installing electrical sign boxes, 10-foot electrical boxes. This is before I was 18 years old. I got to work for Epson Computer, building computers here when I was studying computer operations and then later programming. So by the time I became an IT tech later, I already had experience building computers, building printers, from all the components. I knew all the components. I was building them from scratch. I was building several hundred computers a day. I became a store manager, an assistant store manager for a truck rental company, a national chain. Later, I left Miami and became a manager for one of their stores. Then they fired me for an analyst. Twerp decided I was trying to earn, I was working 100-hour weeks trying to build a store that they had failed to build. And I built it up and made it profitable in 6 months. This is why I hated corporate after that. I must have been 25 when 24, 25. About 24. I think it was, no, I was actually younger than that. I was around 23, 24, yeah. And I was running that store and, worked for 6 months, almost a whole year. And a year later, they fired me. Yet all the audits that I had an auditor come in and audit my store, found nothing wrong. So, I later sold windows for a Sears, siding, decks for Sears. I sold glass in shower enclosures. These were like, $10,000 pieces of glass enclosures. These weren't like $200 doors. Closets. Then I went to go work for a guy where we started selling aluminum refurbished, remanufactured wheels. He had a body shop and he was getting into this business. He says, man, I need a salesman, somebody like you. I actually met him by accident because I wrecked my vehicle. And I said, oh, I'm working for Sears now. I'm selling. He says, oh, you can work for them. They're going through some serious times. You could come work for me and sell wheels. And we went from a body shop to building a 15,000 square foot warehouse, selling wheels all over the country to body shops. And used, and these were used wheels that we remanufactured and refixed and sent them back, and you could buy them for half the price. So I sold that for a while, did that for several years. Then I got tired. I said, I went to work at corporate, went to Columbus, and I worked as a regional manager. Started out $9 an hour negotiating invoices, and within less than 6 months, it was 3 months, they already had made me an offer, and I became their regional manager for everything east of the Mississippi. And I built that up to about $13 million in revenue in 4 years. I then quit that job because that took the soul out of me, of what I had to do. And I became a national sales guy selling custom printed T-shirts for camps, Christian camps, for a Christian manufacturer. Later became a restaurant. I had a friend who I had quit and I had done a bunch of things, and I said, I'm tired. I want to do something else. He says, bro, I got this restaurant. We've never been able to be profitable. We're losing $1,000, $1,500 a month, every single month since we bought it a year ago. We can't seem to make it profitable. I said, all right, let me take a stab at it. So I went and became their restaurant manager. Turned that thing around in 30 days, made it profitable. I got a knack for doing things like that. I later became a youth pastor, and after years, I moved to Miami. This was after I started, by the way, while I was building their restaurant and managing it, I was trying to build a specialty food distributor business because there weren't any in Columbus. I was going to Chicago, buying the stuff, bringing it into to Columbus, and then selling it. And I was doing this on the weekend while I was running the restaurant. The restaurant didn't need me there all the time. And I would go and load up a truck and bring it back, and selling $500,000 of $50,000 a month easily in supplies. And I was selling them to little grocery stores, 7-Elevens, and just specialty foods that they couldn't get. And these people were coming in and you don't have hot sauce. We would have authentic Mexican hot sauce. Tabardillo and all these brands, I was bringing them in from Chicago. Didn't exist. There was 250,000 Hispanics. Talk about what business do I start? I saw a need. There was 250,000 Mexicans, pretty much Mexicans in Columbus, and there was nobody bringing in Mexican products. There was one company bringing in an exorbitant prices. I can easily bring it in for a lot less than that. When I started talking to my supplier at the restaurant, I said, what's the profit margin on wholesale? And he said, about 4 or 5%, profit margin. And I said, so if I could do 20, he says, you're crazy. Nobody does 20. Brought in a specialty product, found a niche, somebody was willing to pay more for it, and I was able to make 20% profit on wholesale. Unheard of. And unfortunately, I had to leave Ohio and come back to Miami. My mother was sick. And then I took some time off here, went to Bible college, became a youth pastor, because I've been working in youth ministry since I was 25 years old. And I said, I'm going to take some time off. Got me a mediocre job. I was doing a linen route for a national company that did linen, and I became a linen salesman and a route manager. And that's, did that for a while I was starting up the ministry. And I was building this youth ministry to do concerts and production and events and sound and all this. Did that for a number of years, and then I became a full-time youth pastor. And then, pastor stabbed me in the back, as a lot of pastors do. That's not true. A lot of pastors don't do that, just the ones I've known. And decided I needed to start a business again. I've had some time off to think, recover. And my brother-in-law said, hey, man, I've got this business, the pest control business, but I've never been able to make it profitable. I'm getting out of it because we just had a Wilma, and, you want to run it and do it part-time. And I started doing that and got into it. And I said, man, I really like this. But I wasn't planning on building a pest control business. I wanted to really build a property service business. I wanted to build a business where we did everything for the client. We did, lawn mowing, and we did the lawn care and the pest control. And, the pest control was just part of it. And then we did, and then I got into pool service, and then we did a handyman service. We did fence repairs, like this wooden fence behind me. I've done plenty of those where I've torn them apart, re-put them back, reclaimed the wood, used it, set the posts, and we would do the repair and charge them a fraction of what it cost to replace the whole fence when all you had was the damaged post. The woods were still really good. And we would do that. We started working for management companies, because I did work for management companies. And we started doing pressure cleaning, and we started doing painting, and we started painting their condos for them and their townhomes for all these realtors. The problem is in Miami, and all these were great niches to be in. And we did great work. And it was the pest control business plus all of this. We had my original company name was One Property Services. We're the one to call for all your property service needs. That was what I was wanting to build. The problem that you have in South Florida is you have a huge immigrant population. 65% of the market is Hispanics. We started getting a huge influx. More Cubans started coming in. More Mexicans started coming in. And as these illegals come into this area, they don't want to leave. They want to work. So they would start undercutting everything. And it got to the point where, what we used to be able to charge $750 to wash a roof, while I would put a man on a roof, had to pay for the insurance and everything else, these guys were doing it for $150. And then nobody cares if you don't, this idea, are you licensed? Are you insured? Do you have workman's comp? Homeowners down here, 65% are Hispanic. They're like, I don't care if you have insurance. I don't care about any of this. It's a 50% rental market. I just need it done cheap, and I need it done, and I'm not going to pay $750 when a guy will do it for $150. And all these business, pool service, you couldn't charge more than $80. We were charging $100. We were charging 20% more. But it wasn't. The only thing that when I looked and analyzed all these businesses I was doing, the pest control business was producing 50% of the profit. And I said, the pest control business produces double the money with less work than all of these businesses, without needing all this heavy equipment, without needing all these specialized people. And after 5 years of trying that, I gave up and I said, screw it, I'm just going to go full on into pest control. That's a lesson learned, because the reason I got into landscaping also was because I started my business in 2009. 2009, everything hit the fan. We already had lost a lot of our pest control clients because the landscapers decided they were going to do pest control for half off, without a license, without insurance, without anything. So we started losing all of our clients immediately because we were specializing in lawn and ornamental pest control. If you want to grow a lawn and ornamental, here's the secret sauce. I'm going to give you the secret sauce to building a lawn and ornamental pest control business really fast, really big. You align yourself with landscapers. Now, if you're lucky enough to be in a part of the country where you have good landscape companies, they'll give you all their pest control clients because you need license to become a pest control person, and they don't want to get into the pest control business. Unfortunately, down here, everyone and their grandmother starts a landscape business without knowing anything, and they do cheap work, and then the lawn looks like a mess, and the customer's calling you, and they're saying, yeah, I'll recommend you to spray a guy, but then you have to go back and respray for free because they kept messing up. We were losing our shirt trying to do business with these guys. And then all the other ones I talked to, the large ones says, bro, these landscapers, the nightmares never end. The customers complain, just respray it. Well, it's very easy to just say respray it for free when it's costing you nothing to tell, the landscaper says, oh no, it has fungus, you need to tell them to just spray it again. And you're expecting you to come back for free because they're paying for a monthly plan or a bi-monthly plan or whatever. So I learned very quickly that then the landscapers started taking our business back when they started doing it. So they started doing it themselves illegally because everybody was going broke. The market was, so I decided, okay, you want to play that game, we'll start our own landscape business. Let me tell you something about doing the right things with the wrong motives for the wrong reasons. And we were just trying to survive, but I was also pissed and I was getting even. We did do better landscaping today where we did charge more. We did gain a lot of those customers back. I was able to rebuild, but it took my vision away from what I wanted to do in pest control. And pest control was still more profitable. This requires a lot of low-skilled labor that is easily found, and most of the people work for cash, and most of the landscape companies work for cash, and their employees work for cash. And you couldn't find people that wanted to work under W-2 conditions legally because they had to do the spraying and all that. They had to be registered with the state. So we found that a lot of these home service businesses depended upon low-scale, illegal work that everybody was paying cash for, not a legitimate business. So while you could be a solo operator, you couldn't scale the business to do all these things and be good at all of them. And in 2009, by 2013, I had given up on the idea. I said, by 2013, I'm going to start selling it all. And I sold off all the equipment, sold off everything, the trucks. And in 2014, I started Nature Pest, which focused on eco-friendly pest control, which we already had a ton of experience in because I had started doing it, the research and doing the work since 2006, started the company in 2009, had plenty of time to research it and do it. Lessons learned. I'm trying to give you all this so that you understand that a lot of the times what you intend to happen doesn't happen. You got to work the niches. You got to figure out what you're good at, what your strengths are, what you're really good, what other people just can't get into very easily. And I started Nature Pest. The reason I waited to 2014 because when I did the research back into 2007, 2008, 2009, all the newspaper articles, everybody wants green, everybody wants eco-friendly, everyone wants natural, everybody wants all these products. When we actually look at the data and we did the analytics on the data, it was only 4% of people actually paying for it. Man, do we need by the time 2014 came in, about 14% of people, 12 to 14% of people were buying organic products. Wholesale, Whole Foods, and all these places were a hit. The grocery stores were lined with products. The acceptance of people buying and paying for it was there. And I decided this is the time to now make that transition. So it was both, I was fed up with what I was doing that was failing. This was producing all the money. This was more profitable. We could now, after from 2006, 6, 7 years, I had gained the experience of doing eco-friendly, doing natural, testing all the products. We were one of the first ones to test all the products in landscapes and homes. We had created an IPM program. The rebranding and getting into a rebrand and doing something new was the time. And so I did it. It was still very expensive to do. We only could sell to the top 1 to 5% of people that made the money. So we had to know who our customers was. I'm going to recommend a book to you that's called Strength Finders 2.0. You're young, you're trying to figure out, I would recommend every parent that has a kid in high school or middle school, get this book for them. Strength Finders, get them to go through and do a Strength Finders assessment, which will help them understand their core skills, their inner skills that are given to them and identify them. And I went through it and I did it and I said, man, I'm astonished about what I'm really good at and what I'm not and what I should be doing. But I didn't discover this late in life until probably, I got this book when I was doing all this transition stuff. This is stuff I wish I would have known. Growing up without a father, growing up without a role model, it makes it very hard for kids and especially young men to figure out who they are. I can't speak about young girls, although I've done a lot of ministry with young girls. I can speak of how hard it is for a guy. And so we had done all this, I got out of all of it, informed our clients we were no longer going to be doing this business, sold off some of the routes, so I gave one of my techs that used to work for me, I said, hey, I'm going to give you all he had started up his own landscape business. And I said, bro, I'm going to give you my customers. I had to let him go because we couldn't afford what, the way he worked and stuff like that. It just didn't fit, but he was a good friend. I still consider him a friend. One of the other guys, I gave him some equipment that used to work for me too, he wanted to start up. And when we had tried the lawn care business before, it failed. I gave him all my equipment. So I blessed a lot of people with that. I sold off everything we had, lived for a year off the sale of all the equipment. So I could actually live. So I was selling, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month worth of equipment that I had acquired. And then I was able, with the sale of the trucks and all this, I was able to live until my pest control business would actually pay all of my bills. That took me about a year to focus. And I built up the pest control business so it was sustaining me and the family. That was still 80-hour weeks, because one of the things that you got to understand is that I had a very young family now. At the time I was having a son. What would happen was I would go during the day, knock out the pest control, do all the admin stuff, come home in the afternoon, spend time with the family. After daughter was in bed, everybody was in bed, wife was in bed, I'm going back to work. And I would work till 9 till 2 in the morning, 12 to 2 in the morning, building the website, building the blog, building all the videos, because I had a strategy of doing blogging and YouTube to get my clients, because nobody out there was doing what I do. I had to explain what it is we had to do. Trying to explain what eco-friendly pest control was at the time is like trying to explain penicillin for the first time to somebody who's never gotten it. So the strategy of building, at the same time I started this podcast, the Pest podcast, in May of 2014. I waited till everything was settled and I started doing this. So this idea that you're going to work 40-hour weeks, I had this guy, I don't know if I told the story or not, I probably haven't. A friend of mine who has which I'm consulting and helping, has a furniture business that he does upholstery, he does cabinets, he does a whole bunch of things, which I'm trying to help him see what I've already been through and his mistakes, and I consulted him and I told him what not to do. Turned out he went and did it anyway, failed at it, and he says, "No, you were right. I still want to do it, but it isn't the time. You're right." Calls me and says, "I want to build custom bed frames." He works for a company where he builds custom furniture. Says, "I want to build custom." Now he is a builder. He's a tech. He doesn't know anything about pricing. Doesn't know anything about what to charge. Doesn't know anything about what it costs in labor and in materials to make these things. He said, "I want to build these custom bed frames." I said, "All right, custom bed frames. It's odd, but all right, tell me your story." So he tells me a story about the custom bed frames. I said, "How long does it take to build one of these?" He says, "Well, it takes about a week." It takes you a week to build a bed frame? What kind of bed frame are you building? Well, these custom wood bed frames. Hand carved wood kind of things. How much are you going to sell these for? And it says $1,500. And I said, think about this for a minute. You're going to work for a week. How much are you going to have in materials? Oh, about $500 worth of wood. You're going to work for a week for $1,000 a week in a business. You're going to make one frame a week. What do these things go with? What kind of furniture? Because imagine you have to sell a piece of furniture that blends into somebody else's room. So what if you have lack of furniture? What if you have all this? And I started, what if all this? Who's going to buy this? I mean, who's going to spend $1,500 on a custom bed frame? And you work a week for $1,000. That's $5,000 a month. Yeah, you've got a business. You've got a job. You can go make that now with your skills, working for somebody else and not own a business. I mean, where are you going to? You got to get a shop. You're going to have all the overhead. 3,000. Try to find a shop in Miami right now, a 1,500 square foot warehouse to put all that equipment. You couldn't find one if you had 3,000 a month, 3,500 a month. You can't find it. They don't exist. I said, all these costs, you need to be selling, like this thing, you need to be building one a day, not one a week. How many hours a week are you working now? It's all about 30 something, 40 hours a week. I says, are you prepared to work 60? You're not ready to start a business, bro. You have no clue of who your customer is. If I were you, you had those skills, I'd be making custom furniture for yachts. Custom, where you have to go in and actually create something, because they don't make custom furniture for airplanes. The guy who has an airplane, I would be going after that. But here's the problem. He doesn't have any sales skills. He's a technician that knows how to build nice furniture. He doesn't know how to go after that business. And I would be charging $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to do a build out in a yacht, $40,000, $50,000, selling that. And that's how you make your money. I wouldn't be building bed frames. When you can walk into any furniture store in Miami and buy a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 designer bed frame by a designer, a well-known designer, how are you going to compete with that? I says, you don't have a business model. You're going to waste your time. He says, no, but I borrowed $35,000 from, the PPP and all this, and I took the money and I'm going to use it. I said, bro, you're going to waste your money. You're going to end up paying it back and you're going to lose your money. I would look at something else to do. But there's no taking a guy or a girl who, I think women are more reasonable, that has already made up his mind what he's going to do, and let him fail at it, and then talk to him a year later how he failed. My friend who is now doing upholstery and doing cabinets, all this, he wanted to start building furniture, building mattresses. I said, custom mattresses. If I were going to build a custom mattress, it's too complicated. You got to have a showroom. Right now, how are you going to compete with Mattress Firm and Mattress Giant and all these guys that you can go in and test 50 mattresses from anywhere between $100 all the way up to $5,000 for a mattress? You're going to compare with Purple Mattress and all these guys that are building mattresses online. Where are you going to put this store? You got to build a showroom. Somebody's got to come in and try it. I would be doing YouTube videos and I would be doing Facebook videos, and I'd be doing all this and selling a custom-made mattress like this one direct from me for 50% off. So if it's a $5,000 mattress, it's $2,500. You would sell them direct. You would create 3 mattress types that are high-end, only high-end mattresses. That it's a knockoff of the high-end, and sell that, and then you can sell. Because how long does it take to do this? He says, 2 hours. I can make a mattress. I said, well, that's a good model. If you can sell a $2,000 mattress for how much you got in materials? Oh, about $200. All right, so the price, you need a high margin. He started making mattresses for $200. I said, bro, why are you competing in that market to sell mattresses for $200? I told you, if you just put a YouTube camera there and you show people how you make your mattress and how it's made with the quality material, how it's made with this, and they can get it for 50% off and order it directly from you, you make a fortune. I said, don't tie up your money that you borrowed in inventory because you can't move it. What did he do? He started building mattresses, warehoused them, and then he figured out he couldn't sell it. My friend Eric, he wants to start an online training academy. I said, no, I'm looking to start an academy for the Pest podcast. Why don't we do this? I'll fund your business. You help me set it up online, set up yours, set up mine. You'll know the working model. I'll invest in yours. And I sat there, and within 2 hours, I had already come up with the whole system, how we're going to sell it, the name. He was like thinking of a name. He had these long names. I said, no, bro, Ingles, wow. People understand Ingles. It's a Spanish market, and everybody understands wow. Simple name, bro. And then he built the logo. We got everything done, building the academy. He's built it out now. He's got 40 courses on there. I said, why? Because he's been an English instructor, a linguistic instructor, since he was 18. This is what he's done all his life, plus work on tech, plus work on, he was, working on tech and video production, all this. Bro, you've acquired all the skills to do it for yourself. Biggest problem is taking that plunge. So now I'm getting him to invest all his time because he can't stop working for what he's doing, but that's coming to an end, and he's going to have to take the leap and do this full time. I said, that's where you have your niche. You have a system you created. I started talking to him, consultants. You realize you created your own system. You've got your own system. You've got a teaching that nobody else has. You have something really unique that he learned from music, because he's also a musician. And he couldn't see it, and he can't see it. He can't see past himself for a minute and say, bro, you have something great that you can package, that you can sell. It's your brand. It's your system of teaching people English, which is better than any system out there. So he's got a niche. He's got a system that he's developed. He's got the skills that he's developed over 40 years now. It makes him an expert in that field. Getting him to see that took a lot of training, a lot of consulting, a lot of getting him to see it. That this is where he should be going, creating his own online academy, teaching people English, doing his own thing, getting private students in a group and doing private group studies. And getting him to invest in himself the way he's invested in me has taken more work. Because when I do something, I have the money and I pay for it, and he's getting income from that. This he's not getting income from yet. So it's very hard for him to take that step, because he's got to give this up to get this. Or I can invest and become a partner with him and put up the money, but it's still slower. You know, the question I get all the time is, which direction are you going? Look at your past experience, the things that you're actually become an expert at, seeing if you can turn that into a business. I love doing barbecue. I love smoking. I'm thinking of doing this thing with barbecue, but to me, it's more of a hobby. I want to do barbecue because barbecue in Miami sucks. There is no good barbecue place in Miami. People tell me, we've been smoking these ribs for 12 hours. You don't smoke ribs for 12 hours. First of all, there's not even a smoke ring on this thing. You're full of crap. Your ribs suck. Your brisket sucks. It's dry. Your pork sucks. So I'm thinking about starting a delivery business for barbecue, where we just deliver it. We don't have a dine-in restaurant. I don't want the dine-in restaurant business. I've done that. I've managed restaurants. I know what it takes to manage a restaurant. I want it. You order our barbecue and you get it delivered to your house, or you get it shipped. That's something I'm dabbling with an idea. So how do you set up the company? They're worried about, bro, you go online right now in Miami to sunbiz.org, and in 15 minutes you can have an LLC, a corporation. Do I do an LLC? Do I do a corp? Do I do an S corp? Do I do a C corp? I said, bro, talk to your accountant. But we did an LLC with an S corp inside. It was very simple. That's like 15 minutes worth of work. What? I need to hire a bookkeeper. You haven't made any money. Get the software and just do the bookkeeping. It's very simple. It'll do it for you. You can see a million videos on how to do it. The question that you have to ask in what direction you're going to go when you're looking for direction is you asking the wrong question from the wrong people. Don't ask your friends and your family, what do you think about this business idea if nobody's ever started a business? Oh, no, don't start businesses. They're too hard to run. It's too, all of the stats that are online are basically from large-scale businesses that have failed because, they needed $250,000 and they didn't have enough cash flow. They had a store and they had employees and they failed. Home-based businesses don't nearly have the failure rate of those businesses. So you don't ask people online. You ask somebody who's actually run a business. The first question you need to ask yourself, what is the purpose of your business? What is the purpose? What problem does your business solve? What's the problem? Have you identified a problem that needs solving? Second of all, are people willing to pay to get that problem solved? Can you sell enough of it at a certain price that it's going to be profitable? And you have to understand profit, because profit is not salary. Is it profitable to cover everything, your overhead, and then cover and give you enough profit to be profitable? Those are the questions that you need to ask when you decide to do a business. Do research on that business. Does it satisfy a need? A lot of things are not problem solving. I mean, every business solves a problem. Think about this before COVID. How many of you would have paid to have your sandwich delivered? Now you have Postmates and Uber Eats, and how many of you would have done that, paid $6 to get your Kentucky Fried Chicken delivered? Yet people were doing it, and then the perfect thing came along called COVID for them, and it made their business skyrocket. A simple problem solved by filling a need that people had to. I want, a Cinnabon at 2 in the morning. Can I get a Cinnabon delivered at 2 in the morning? Does it satisfy that want for food? A lot of the times the need is to satisfy a want. What do people want? When people buy a Rolex watch, they don't care what it costs. When people buy a Bentley, they don't care what it costs. It satisfies a want. Sometimes it's a need, the need to say, I have arrived, I'm successful. It's an ego thing because it speaks, the house in the right market. Is the need a functional need? Is the need a social need? Or is the need an emotional need? Nobody needs a new purse. Sorry, women, nobody needs a new pair of shoes. You imagine you got 30 pairs of shoes, 40 pairs of shoes. You go in and says, I got nothing to wear. And if I buy a new outfit, now I don't have shoes because nothing I have matches these shoes. Think about how logical that decision is, women. There isn't a whole lot of logic in that. It's all emotion. You justify it with logic. So when you're building the business, with the questions you need to ask is this a business or a hobby? If it's a business, it needs to be profitable. Second, do you have the support system? Is your spouse going to support you? Are they willing to take the risk? Do they have the stomach for this? But much more important, are they going to understand that now you're having a home-based business, and when you're working, you're working. This idea, here's what the biggest problem that I have with people that started working at home, and they work at home and their family doesn't understand. Their friends don't understand that because now they are self-employed and they work at home, doesn't make them available. Oh, I need to go to the doctor tomorrow. Can you take me? No, I'm working. But you work from home. You're self-employed. You can do this. And they get upset at you and they get mad because you got to tell them no. Oh, honey, can you get the laundry done before I get home? But you're there. No, I'm not doing laundry. I'm working. Understand that because you guys finish what you're doing in your home and it's 3, 4 o'clock, you got to understand that I'm still working. When kids get home from school, it's not time to play. I'm still working. And having that support and having everybody in your family understands that they can't call you on every whim, drop by the house whenever they want to, and do the things that, because you're now self-employed and now you work for yourself, that you can just take off whenever you want and do whatever you want. You can't. Discipline to do the work has to be there. Pricing. You're going to have to price it for profit. And what you got to understand is if later you're thinking of scaling your business, you're going to need an assistant, or you're going to need a worker, or you're going to need manufacturing. You're going to need to hire all these people. And is your pricing model paying for all these people when you need to hire them? Because the biggest problem that you have is you underprice your product because you want people to buy from you. You don't want people to say no because you're not a salesperson. You don't know how to take a no and realize that not everyone is your customer. Who is your customer? The direction you're going. Who is your customer? Not, everyone's my customer. No, not everyone is your customer. My customer right now are people that can afford what we sell. We're the most expensive pest control company in Miami. We're expensive for a reason because it takes more labor, it takes more training, it takes more expensive products. We're not selling a cheap baseboard spray, every month. Who is your target market? Who are you going to go after? Get your pricing model profitable from the get-go. The biggest reason businesses fail and they can't scale later is lack of money. If you don't have the profit and then you can no longer do it yourself and you don't have people, this is where you're going to frustrate and quit and say, I give up. Because once you've accustomed, this is the biggest thing. I was talking to my friend who owns the furniture business, says, oh, I got this contract at a hotel and I told him that I would do this batch, this is going to be a month-long project. He got it because he was the cheapest guy. He's getting all these leads, not because he's the best at it, because he is. He's really good. But I told him, I said, you're getting all these leads. When I analyze how many customers are complaining about your prices, you're getting all these leads because you're done cheap work. That's so high quality, but you got it so cheap that everybody's recommending you. Your value is up here. Your pricing is down here. You need to do this. Either bring the quality down or raise the price. So he told me, I said, listen, there's a promise of more work and doing other things, the other projects they have, if I give them this project at this price. And I said, let me tell you something. The moment you do that, you just shot yourself in the head. You will never recover from that. You will never recover from the next time they got another project to price it right, because they got used to this price. And the reason they went with you is because of this. Remember, they're not stupid. They already know what these things cost. Guess what? He sold the contract. Then he started talking about the other projects. He said, well, for right now, we've canceled all those other projects. We're just going to do this, and that's it. You got hustled. The promise, when people tell me about, oh, if you do this for me, I said, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to do this at a premium price because you're only buying one. When you produce the other 10 contracts, we will discuss a discount for those other 10. Until that manifests itself, this is the price you're going to pay. He lost all respect because now they know they took advantage of him. He doesn't have any respect as a professional. He's not going to make any money off this project, and there is no promise of anything in the future. The biggest fear that people have when selling their services, they don't understand their value, and they have the fear of losing the business. Walk away from the business. I just have one that, hey, you know how hard it is to land an $875 a month residential contract for lawn spraying? This is a 30,000 square foot home, 30,000 square foot lot. But I told him, I said, you got to buy all these other products because you have this one shrub that's 9,000 feet around the property, and that's $3,000 to $4,000 a month, every 3 months to serve it that. Without this, I can't give you this. This is supplemental to this. She just signed the contract for this. I'm texting her back now and saying, hey, you didn't sign this other deal. Without you signing this other deal, this goes away. And I walk away totally because I'm not going to take the responsibility. I know what my services offer. I know what we do. We're the most expensive. I told her that from the beginning. I said, you called the most. You're not happy with this company because of this. They're a good company. But understand, they're not going to provide you the level of service you want. You want that level of service, this is what it costs. We're already double what that other company. Now we're going into 4 times more. But it's a $7.5 million estate. She's got, 20-something thousand square feet of lawn, but this ficus hedge all the way around, which is literally about 9,000 square feet of shrub. They're 20-something feet tall, and they need treatment every 3 months. We're not going to be able to guarantee the control. She's ignoring me and hasn't answered me, but she signed this contract. She's expecting me to show up. Now on Monday, I'm going to give her a call and say, listen, this is the deal. These two, I told you these two were together. If you don't sign this, we walk away from this, you go back to finding another company. You've got to have a marketing system in place. The biggest failure I see in every business in direction they're going is they focus everything on the technical, on the product, and they have zero money for marketing or sales. Without real marketing, this idea that you're going to buy 1,000 business cards and you're going to go to the mall and you're going to pass them out and 100 clients are going to call you, let me know when that fails and give me a call, because it isn't going to happen. The fact that in marketing you need 13 touch points for people to even know you exist. You get prepared to do that 13 times before you can get 0.1% response on that ad. 0.1%. So if you hand out 1,000 business cards, the most you can hope for is one client. Is 8 hours worth of work handing 1,000 business cards out of the parking lot, 4 hours worth of work, plus the cost, going to produce a client that's going to keep buying over and over and over again? Direction you're going. Direction. You got to know where you're going, where you want to get to, how much money you need to make every single month to make this profitable. Without that, you're wasting your time. Lack of sales leads and getting enough customers, prospects calling you for quotes and prices and estimates so that you can close 20 to 50% of them. So if you need 3 customers this week, you better make sure you're getting at least 12 calls to get 3 customers. Because how good are you as a salesperson? I don't know. How much have you sold? I don't know. Can you close 5 out of 10? Well, yeah, if we bring down the pricing. I said, that's not what I asked. I said, if you're a real salesman, you can sell them at the high price. When you tell me you can close 50% or 80% because your pricing is too low, you don't have enough profit to then cover everything else. Listen, the market is the market. You can't go against simple marketing strategies. You'll fail. So don't fear losing the business. Get the marketing right. Make sure you have enough for advertising. Those are the questions. What am I going to need? Because people always design, okay, I need this much in equipment, this for licenses, this for signage, and this much. And it's just like, okay, where's all your money for marketing for the next 6 months? How are you going to go? You're going to go door to door? Are you that good of a salesman to go door to door? How do you plan to get that customer, that phone to ring? Because for me, it was 2 years working on mine before our phones went off the hook. Of doing videos 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a week. Marketing. Now the calls come in and I can't handle them all. Where are you going to get it? The direction you're going. You're asking the wrong questions. What business should I start? You're asking all the wrong questions. I hope this is helpful in knowing the direction you're going to go in. This is Frank the Pest Geek wishing you a pestacular day.